Please come to order. Those persons not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber at this time. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by the gentleman from the 59th, Doug. Come.
Our Father, who art in heaven, we thy children come before thee this day to thank thee for all the manifest blessings that thou hast given us. We thank thee for the blessings of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all that you have done for us. Open our hearts and minds to thy will, that we may proceed accordingly. And we ask thy blessings upon the deliberations of this West Virginia House of Delegates and us individually. In Jesus' name we ask, amen.
Members and guests, please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning by the gentleman from the 22nd, Delegate Jeffries.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Thursday, January 16th, 2020.
Gentleman the 29th, Doug Steele.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
The gentleman the 29th asks unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Further reading of the journal is dispensed with. Introduction to guests. The gentleman the 23rd, Delegate Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have several pages here today from Boone County. I would like to ask them to stand when their name is called and be recognized. From Van Junior Senior High School, we have Olivia Adkins, Phoenix Lowther, and Preston Adams. And from Ashford Rumble Elementary School, Brady Purdue, Michaela Harless, Grace Elkins, and Riley Eastep. And they are escorted today by their parents and teachers that are located in the West Gallery. If they would please stand. Jody Elkins, Steve Harless, Kim Eastep, their principal Ray Boyd, and their teacher Holly Carroll. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
The lady from the 38th, Doug Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the Honorary Secretary of State Award Program is hosted by our Secretary of State and supported by our county clerks. The Jennings Randolph Award is named for the late U.S. Senator Jennings Randolph of West Virginia, who is considered the father of the 26th Amendment that reduced the voting age to 18. The Jennings Randolph Award is presented to those West Virginia high schools who register at least 85% of their eligible students to vote. The 2019-20 school year marks the 26th anniversary of that award. In just the last 3 years, more than 43,000 high school students here in West Virginia have been registered to vote. An honorary Secretary of State is a high school student who had a leadership role in his or her high school becoming a Jennings Randolph Award-winning school. The recognition is limited to just 2 students for each high school that earns the award. Mr. Speaker, in the gallery today from my district is Piper Vance and Lydia Sweat. Piper and Lydia are being recognized as an honorary Secretary of State from Nitro High School in Kanawha County, and they registered 100% of their eligible students to vote. Piper and Lydia are here today in the gallery with Secretary of State Mac Warner. I would ask that they stand and please, the members of the House, make them welcome.
The gentleman the 35th, Doug Capito.
You want to sit there? We're still figuring out what we want to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm very blessed, as all days, and lucky to have 2 of my favorite people in the world with me, my daughter Eliza, who is 4, and my son Arch, who is almost 2. If the House would make them feel welcome.
The gentleman the 28th, Doug Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the West Gallery from Monroe County is the Monroe Robotics team. If they would please stand and the House make them feel welcome.
The gentleman the 28th, Doug Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to my co-delegate for doing that one for me. I appreciate it. The introduction I have is for 2 pages we have today. Dean Ryan and Aiden Ryan, they are the children of A.W. and Alicia Ryan. You may remember that name from the delegate some years ago. They are also the nephews of Melinda Swaggart and Greg Swaggart, and Melinda standing here behind me. So let's please make these pages welcome from over in Summers County. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 41st, Douglas Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have a few pages from Mount Lookout Elementary, and on behalf of myself and the gentleman from the 44th, would these pages please stand? Brooke Sanford, Kylie Marie Odell, Lindsay Key, and Molly Dorsey. The House, please make them feel welcome.
The gentleman from the 13th, Doug Higginbotham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today from my district is Josie Moore. Josie is being recognized as one of the honorary Secretary of States from Buffalo High School in Putnam County for registering 100% of their eligible students to vote. Josie is here today in the gallery with my county clerk from Putnam County, Brian Wood. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
The gentleman from the 46th, Douglas Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery today, we have some folks with the Family Resource Network. We have Deanna, if they would please stand as I state their name. If Deanna Palmer from Lewis County would stand. If Elizabeth Shand from Harrison County would stand. And Greg Puckett from Mercer County. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
The gentleman from the 44th, Douglas Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today joining us in the South Gallery is high school student Trevor Morris. He's very interested in our system here that we have in the House, and he's actually filed for a seat in this House. But he's here with the Honorary Secretary of State's program. And joining him, a teacher from St. Albans High School, is Sarah Gallagher, who happens to be the daughter of our majority leader. So if they would please stand in the House, would make them feel welcome.
The gentleman from the 12th, Douglas Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today from my district is Levi French, Trey Jones, and Garrison Phillips. Levi is being recognized today as the Honorary Secretary of State from Ravenswood High School. Trey and Garrison are being recognized as Honorary Secretary of State from Ripley High School. These 3 young men helped both their schools to register 100% of the eligible students to vote. Levi, Trey, and Garrison are here today in the gallery with Secretary of State Mike Warner. I would ask the House to please give them a warm welcome. Also, Mr. Speaker, in the gallery, is Beverly Chateau. Beverly is the principal of Ripley High School. I'd like them to give her a warm welcome also. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 1st, Douglas Schwartzmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of myself, Delegate McGinn, and Delegate Tesario, we'd like to welcome today Crystal Joswick. She's with the Brooke Hancock County Family Resource Network, and she's down visiting us today, so let's give her a warm welcome.
The gentleman from the 42nd, Douglas Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 2 introductions today. First, we have a page today from Eastern Greenbrier Middle School. If she will stand, that is Ashley Meadows. And in the West Gallery, her parents are joining her today. If they'll stand, Michael and Amy Meadows. If the House will please make them welcome. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 24th, Douglas Tomlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, from my district and Roddy Garrio's district, we have in the South Gallery Sarah Fortune. Sarah's been recognized as an Honorary Secretary of the State for Logan High School and Logan County that registered 100% of their eligible students to vote. Sarah is here today with the Secretary of State, Mike Warner, and Logan County Clerk, John Turner. Would they please stand and let everybody give them a warm welcome?
Lady from the 4th, Delegate Zukoff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I'd like to recognize Stacy Dye on behalf of Delegate Canister and myself. She's the Marshall County Family Resource Network. She's in the gallery. If she would please stand and if the House would make her feel welcome.
The lady from 36, Delegate East Step Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all the delegates from Kanawha, Putnam, and Boone County today, I would like to recognize in the North Gallery, although they can't see me, I trust they're there. So please stand up Michelle Bowles and Evan Young. They're from the Boone, Putnam, and Kanawha County Family Resource Network. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 43rd, Delegate Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, joining us in the West Gallery, we have Rebecca Vance, if she'd please stand. Rebecca is down here from Randolph County with the FRN, the Family Resource Network. I had the absolute pleasure of meeting some of her colleagues yesterday, and it was a very informative and great experience. So if the House would please make them feel welcome.
The gentleman of 30th, Delegate Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining us in the South Gallery are some students that are in the physical therapy doctoral programs at Marshall University, WVU, and also Wheeling Jesuit University, and they're here today for Physical Therapy Lobby Day. And I spoke to them before the session began, and interesting enough, Mr. Speaker, most of these students are actually not from West Virginia. They're from other places that have come here to take advantage of our excellent higher education opportunities and the programs at these institutions. And my pitch to them then and is now is we need you to stay and make West Virginia your home. So if you'd like to stand, and the House would like to make them welcome, and thank you for being here.
The gentleman from the 20th, Delegate Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Mark Dean from the 21st District, we would like to welcome Amy Deerfield Hanna, rather, to the Capitol today. She's with the Mingo County Family Resource Network and does a wonderful job running that program. We appreciate your work.
The gentleman from the 13th, Delegate Higginbotham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry for speaking twice. Melinda Swagger, up in education, reminded me that her son is also here, Hunter. If Hunter would please stand and the House make him feel welcome.
The gentleman from the 35th, Delegate Capito.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We have two more Secretary of States for a day with us today, and both of them are from Kanawha County. We're very honored to have them with us. We have Madison Staton and Trevor Morris. Madison is a student at Capitol High School, and Trevor is a student at St. Albans High School, and they've worked very hard to get their fellow students registered to vote, which we all know the importance of. So if they would stand up, I would like to recognize them today for everything they're doing and for taking part in your government. They here? Thank you. And one more announcement, Mr. Speaker, and I promise it's the last. I have a friend and constituent in the South Gallery, DJ Lacey, a graduate of George Washington High School, is with us today, and I'd like to have him feel welcome as well.
Are there other introductions? If not, report to standing committees.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2086, Uniform Real Property Electronic Recording Act, House Bill 4119, establishing the crime of torture, and House Bill 4275, Fire Commission, State Fire Code, reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 4077, increasing the amount of the bond required to be posted by proprietary schools. Reports back a committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Political Subdivisions has had under consideration House Bill 2542, permitting directors of county emergency phone systems to obtain mobile phone emergency lines. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
The report to be received. The bill to be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security has had under consideration House Bill 2330, allowing honorably discharged veterans who possess certain military ratings to qualify to take an examination for licensing as a plumber, electrician, and sprinkler fitter. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
The report to be received. The bill to be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security has had under consideration House Bill 2627, removing all costs and fees from the Silver Star registration plate. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Finance.
Report to be received. The bill to be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Fire Departments and Emergency Medical Services has had under consideration House Bill 2729, recognition of Emergency Medical Services Personnel Licensure Interstate Compact. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. The bill to be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Fire Departments and Emergency Medical Services has had under consideration House Bill 2321, allowing workers' compensation benefits for first responders diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to the Political Subdivisions and then to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Pursuant to the provisions of House Rule 80, the bill will be referred first to the Committee on Political Subdivisions, then the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Fire Departments and Emergency Medical Services has had it in consideration House Bill 4039, providing limitations on nuisance actions against fire department and emergency medical services. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Originating in the Committee on Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse are House Bill 4416, relating to expanding certain insurance coverages for pregnant women, and House Bill 4418, relating to the Ryan Brown Fund. They're originated with recommendation that they each do pass, that they be referred to the Committee on Finance.
The report will be received. Each bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Originating in the Committee on Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse is House Bill 4417, relating to permitting professional boards. It's originating with recommendation that it do pass.
The report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse is House Bill 4419, relating to the Controlled Substance Monitoring Database. It's originating with recommendation that it do pass.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 4092, relating to foster care, and House Bill 4129, relating to adoption, each reported with amendment, with recommendation that each do pass, that they be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
The report will be received. Each bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Are there further reports to standing committees? If not, reports of select committees, messages from the executive, messages from the Senate, resolutions.
House Concurrent Resolution 16, United States Army Private George H. Hooker Memorial Bridge.
Laid in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with, and that each resolution is considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the Chamber automation system.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with, and that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the Chamber automation system. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Motions, petitions, bills introduced.
House Bill 4395, removing the requirement that a veterinarian access and report to the Controlled Substance Monitoring Database.
Laid in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that each bill be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
The lady in the 49th asks unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. For what purpose does the gentleman in the 6th, Delegate Kelly, seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like permission to briefly address the House.
Are there objections? House will be in order. House will be in order.
Mr. Speaker, I've been advised that our Secretary Maryland's father has just passed away. I would ask for the House to rise, please.
Are there objections? Chair hears no objections.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence followed by a prayer, if I may.
Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. All members and guests in the galleries will please rise. Gentlemen may proceed.
Father, we come to you today because we know that in our heartache you give us peace. When we're brokenhearted, we can come to you and seek rest, and we pray for Marilyn and her family right now as they struggle with the loss of their loved one. We pray, Lord, that you would surround them with love and again with peace and rest. And all of these things we ask in Jesus' name. And everybody said,
Amen.
Amen.
Members and guests may be seated. Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2602, including possession of known stolen property in the offense of receiving or transferring stolen property.
Is there objection to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? Chair hears no objection. The gentleman from the 35th, Delegate Capito, to explain the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, everybody. This is a bill that we saw last year and did pass the House, but did not make it across the finish line. I'll review it and refresh your memory and take questions if you have them. Currently, under West Virginia law, the code provides that when an individual either buys or receives, aids in concealing, or transfers to another person other than the rightful owner property that they know is stolen or have reason to know is stolen, they are guilty of the crime of larceny. What this bill intends to do is add to that list if a person knowingly or has reason to know that they possess stolen property, they too now, if this bill is passed, will be guilty or can be charged with larceny. Mr. Speaker, that's a summarization of the bill. I'm happy to take questions, and I urge its passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2602.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2679 relating to state-issued identification cards.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, Chair recognizes Delegate Phillips, the gentleman from the 47th, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to permit the issuance of a state-issued identification card without a photo on the card if taking the photo would violate religious tenets or religious beliefs. The committee substitute simply clarifies the policy statement. I urge passage of the bill.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2679.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2696 creating an additional index system for state-owned lands.
Is there objection to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? Chair hears no objection. The gentleman from the 56th, Delegate Howe, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to create an index system to reference the lands purchased by the state that shall include the state agency purchasing the lands and the county or counties where the lands are located. The bill provides that the state auditor shall have rulemaking authority over the index system. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are the members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? The gentleman at 36, Doug Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chair yield?
Chair does yield.
Mr. Chairman, are we not doing this now?
We are not.
We are not keeping track of anything that we purchase, anything of that sort?
We keep track of the purchases, but state's been around for 156 years. The names of many of the agencies that purchase the lands have changed, and they're still recorded in the courthouses across the state under their original names. If you go into a courthouse and look up land, you look up by grantee or grantor, this will create an index for the state properties. Prior to about 100 years ago, it was the State Roads Commission. So there is land in the state that's listed as State Roads Commission. If you do not know that, you don't know where to look. What this will do is create an index, so if you look up the Division of Highways, it will list all those other names so you can find them.
But just because you write it down in your index that you're creating, does it actually change that name in the deed book?
It does not change it in the deed book. That was the more cost-effective alternative. This was suggested by the county clerks.
So really, you're just going through and you're making a list of properties, and this used to be the Roads Commission, now it's the highways. We've got this list at the auditor's office, but when I actually go do legal work or title work, it's still not fixed. Do you have is there a fiscal note attached to this?
Actually, it is fixed because the auditor's office is the one who is putting, it would be...
The auditor's office reports deeds now?
No, the auditor's office will be putting the naming in. They will have access to the list. So if you look at the auditor's office or in your county courthouse, the list will match.
So now the auditor's office is going to create this index and then provide for some service for them to research that at each county courthouse?
Research has already been done. We have been working on this for over a year now. The county clerks have submitted the list of the state properties to us. They have also been submitted to the auditor's office as well as the governor's office. The list already exists. It's now compiling up the list to put a standardized naming system to reference them.
So you're telling me this is already done, but we're passing legislation to do it now?
We have to have legislation to authorize the auditor.
But it's already done.
The work is done. The actual requirement of the list in the county clerk's offices is not done. That's what this does.
So our auditor took the initiative to do it. He took care of it. It's finished, but now we're wasting our time here to pass a law to say he can do it.
No, we're passing a law so that the index is actually created.
But the index is already created. You just told me that.
No, sir. I said we have a list of the properties.
Which is an index, right? A list equals an index. Same thing.
Actually, it's not the same thing.
What's the difference? Tell me.
Well, a list has all the wrong names because they've changed over the years. The index will compare those to the correct names so that you can actually look them up.
So you're telling me that you all worked on a list for a year and put the wrong names on it?
No, sir. The names of the deeds are listed under what they were purchased under originally. So it says State Roads Commission. We have a list with States Roads Commission, Division of Highways, or if it belonged to a county at one time prior to the Division of Highways, that it has the county name, which it now belongs to the Division of Highways. We have that list. The auditor's office, after this bill passes, will go through and look at that list and find out what they properly belong to at this point, and then list them all under the Division of Highways, which means you will go to the auditor's office or go to the county's courthouse, look up Division of Highways, and it will tell you all of them because the deeds still have the old names on them, which is the cheaper option.
Okay. Do you have a fiscal note attached to this?
No.
Because it's already done.
The legwork is done.
With the wrong names?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speak to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Jim was recognized.
I think once again what we're seeing here is our Committee on Government Organization doing half the work, going half the way, going some of the work and letting some of the departments do it and not quite vetting the issue. I would suggest we vote this one down and let our state auditor take care of it like he already did. Thank you.
The gentleman at 32nd, Doug Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in full support of this bill. This is a bill that enhances the efficiency of our government system statewide, all around each and every county, and that's really a good thing. So let's vote this bill up and pass it and move on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 90 ayes, 6 nays, 4 members absent not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2696.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action to the House, to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2922, relating to requirements to obtain a final order of discharge and dismissal for possession of opiates or opioids.
Is there objection to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? Chair hears no objections. The gentleman at 27th, Delegate Schott, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the bill we discussed a good bit yesterday in the amendment stage. It's House Bill 2922. This bill adds a new code section which provides that when a person pleads guilty or is found guilty of unlawful possession of a controlled substance under the Uniform Controlled Substances Act, or under a municipal ordinance containing the same elements where and this is where the controlled substance is either listed as a Schedule 1, and it does not, and you'll remember this was the point of the amendment yesterday, it does not apply to marijuana, or as a Schedule 2 or a Schedule 3 or a Schedule 4. The court may, and this is, may means it's permissive, as an additional condition for the entry of a final order of discharge or dismissal under 60A-4-407, require the defendant to do one of three things. First, be evaluated for admission into a drug court program if one is available in the county or municipality in which the defendant resides. Or, and if the evaluation determines that the person is eligible, the court can require that person to participate in the drug treatment program. And further, if the person starts the drug court treatment program, it can require that the defendant complete that program in order to gain the order of discharge or dismissal. 60A-4-407 is a special provision that's basically dealing with, or called a conditional discharge, and applies in the case of a first offense. In other words, someone who has not been convicted of any other offenses under the Controlled Substances Act. So this basically clarifies that among the various options the court has is to condition this final order of discharge or dismissal at the end of the period of this conditional discharge. And what this does basically, a person can be convicted or pleads guilty. The court may allow them to take advantage of this provision and defer any further adjudication of guilt or imposition of a sentence, and sentence them to, or basically place them on conditions. This bill basically clarifies that among those conditions is a participation in a drug court program and ultimately a successful completion of it. At the end of that period of time, then the charge is dismissed, the individual is discharged, and within a certain period of time there's a special expungement provision that can kick in, and the records of this procedure can be stricken. It gives, as I said, it is permissive. It's up to the judge. I think it's a bill that adds to the options that are available to the judge. And Mr. Speaker, I urge its adoption.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, then the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 86 ayes, 9 nays, 5 members absent not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2922.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, then the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action to the House, to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2924, permitting the West Virginia Tourism Office to decide to contract with the Division of Highways to sell advertising space on the West Virginia 511 website.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? Chair hears no objections. The gentleman from the 56th, Douglas Howe, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to permit the West Virginia Tourism Office to contract with the Division of Highways to sell advertising space on the West Virginia 511 website if they choose to do so. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? The gentleman from the 67th, Douglas Doyle.
Will the gentleman yield?
Gentleman does yield.
Just which of the two agencies is going to be doing the selling of the advertising?
If they enter into an agreement, it would be the Tourism Office.
Thank you, sir.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? The gentleman from the 36th, Douglas Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield?
He does.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like this bill passed last year. It was unanimous on our side. Looks like maybe we didn't look too close at it because the Senate did not run it. Can you tell me what their objections to the bill were?
That's when Senator Boso had his medical issue, and we lost several bills while he was out. He was chairman of GovOrg where this was assigned.
But we're running this pretty early on, so it must be high on your priority list. So can you tell me why they didn't take it as a priority last year and we're taking it as a priority this year?
I just said because Senator Boso had his medical issue and was out, and they got behind on stuff.
So he was done for the whole session. He didn't come back and do any work at the rest of the session after his medical issue?
They did some work. I don't know how far they got behind. I could just tell you what they told me on the Senate side.
But they didn't take this bill as a priority. So why are we taking this bill as a priority? That's my question.
I no longer yield.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, speak to the bill.
Gentleman's recognized.
Once again, I'm not sure what this Senate's issue was with this. Clearly, the chairman doesn't either. I'm not sure why we're taking this bill as a priority. Maybe we should send it back to committee and have them give another look at it.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2924.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action to the House and the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4010.
Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to postpone action one day.
Lady from the 49th, action unanimous consent that action on House Bill 4010 be postponed one day. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Action will be postponed one day. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4042, requiring agencies exempt from some or all of state purchasing requirements to adopt procedural rules.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? Chair hears no objections. The gentleman from the 56th, Douglas Howe, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to require agencies exempt from some or all of the purchasing requirements to adopt procedural rules establishing their purchasing procedures. The committee substitute changes the article in which the code section is placed to avoid agency exemptions. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, then those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. The majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4042.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, then the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action to the House and the Senate and request concurrence therein. Are there further bills on third reading? If not, then bills on second reading.
House Bill 4062, reducing the cost of prescription drugs.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4091, allowing for expedited oil and gas well permitting upon payment of applicable expedited fees.
Are there amendments? If not, then the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4096, requiring candidates to live in the state or local election district for the office for which they are seeking.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4017, establishing Country Roads Accountability and Transparency.
Bill to be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4020, removing authority of municipalities to require occupational licensure if licensure for the occupation is required by the state.
The bill to be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4108, relating generally to certificates of need for health care services.
Bill to be advanced.
House Bill 4130, relating to competitive bidding for government construction contracts arising out of declared states of emergency.
The bill to be advanced.
House Bill 4141, requiring the Department of Administration to publish its comprehensive annual report by the end of December.
The bill to be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues, Delegate Hardy, Ellington, Rowe, and Wilson.
Are there objections to leaves being granted? Chair hears no objections. Leaves shall be granted. Remarks by members of the House. Remarks by members of the House. If not, introduction to guests. The gentleman from the 18th, Douglas Worrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to announce that, sponsored by the West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians, our family doctor today is Dr. Andrew Pearson from Barboursville, West Virginia. Would the House please make him welcome?
Lady from the 3rd, Delegate Storch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Delegate Fluharty and I are pleased to have Carrie Abraham with us in the South Gallery. Carrie has escorted some students down for the day. I'd ask them to stand in the House, make them welcome.
Lady from the 51st, Douglas Fleischauer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're pleased, the delegates from the 51st, Delegate Walker, Hanson, Piles, and Williams, to have a page here with us today from Suncrest Middle School. His name is Jordan Stickle. His mother is in the rear gallery. Would they please stand, and would the House give them a very warm welcome?
Are there further introductions? If not, miscellaneous business. Lady from the 49th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, the House adjourn until 11 a.m. on Monday.
The lady from the 49th moves that, subject to announcements, the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. on Monday. Are there announcements? The gentleman from the 27th, Douglas Schott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In order to complete our posted agenda today, the House Committee on the Judiciary will resume its posted agenda at 12 noon today. We will then again meet again on Monday at 9:30 a.m. And I'll also remind you that there will be a public hearing on the DMAPS rules bundle. That's committee substitute for House Bill 4275, which contains the Fire Commission rules. That's 87 CSR 1 and 87 CSR 4. On this coming Monday, January 20th, 2020 at 8:30 in the morning here in the House chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Rules will meet at 10:45 a.m. on Monday behind the chamber.
The gentleman from the 35th, Douglas Capito.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The subcommittee for House Bill 4005 will meet in the Judiciary Committee room at 8:30 on Monday morning. The agenda will be posted for that meeting. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 13th, Douglas Cadle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources will meet at 1 o'clock Monday morning or Monday afternoon in the Judiciary Committee room. The agenda has been posted. One more thing I'd like to say, Mr. Speaker. A few years ago, we took a tour of the State Police Academy. And if anybody's interested, I'd like to get a group of people and go down there some afternoon, evening, whenever. They said they'd work it out with us. It was really a lot of fun. They put us on the simulator, put you in a real situation. They also had a car you could drive in a chase scene or shootout, whatever. Everyone should get down there and look and see what these guys are trained. And, it's a good program. But thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from the 48th, Douglas Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do want to announce on February 4th at 7 o'clock at West Virginia State University, we are going to have the 2020 Dick Henderson and Tony Lewis Memorial Legislative Basketball Game. I hope that many members will come. I hope many members will play. If you can play and want to play, please contact myself, Delegates Fluharty, Delegate Scaff, if you want to play. Once again, this is a one time that we can raise money for cancer. I hope everybody will participate if you can. Thanks.
The gentleman from the 12th, Douglas Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Banking and Insurance will meet Monday, January 20th at 1 o'clock in the GovOrg room, and the agenda has been posted.
The gentleman, the 45th, Douglas Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Republican members on your Committee on Government Organization will caucus in the Chairman's office Monday at 3 p.m. In room 213E in the East Wing. And, Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Government Organization will meet Monday at 4 p.m. in the House Gov Organization Committee room 215 in the East Wing. The agenda will be posted. Thank you.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. on Monday. Those in favor will say aye. Any opposed will say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the motion adopted. The House is adjourned until 11 a.m. on Monday.
Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. And with those on the floor and our guests in the gallery, please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by Pastor Jeff Davenport of First Baptist Church of Hurricane in Hurricane, West Virginia. And then please remain standing as we are led in the pledge this morning by the Senator from Monongalia, Pastor Davenport.
I invite you to pray with me. Heavenly Father, as we come to you in prayer today, we do so through your Son. You have invited us into your presence, so we humbly thank you for your mercy and grace. We pray for this Senate chamber today and all who serve the great state of West Virginia in it. We pray especially for those who are working behind the Senate scenes, making calls and copies, transcribing and transmitting, sweeping and protecting, briefing senators and corresponding with constituents. This exercise of democracy would be doomed without them. And so we ask that they be blessed and encouraged and realize just how much they matter. May those who understand their worth tell them today. But Lord, we also lift up these senators, for they carry a great weight of responsibility, and their votes indeed count, not only now, but through eternity. We ask them to seek you, and we ask you to guide them. Have mercy on us, O Lord, and thank you for never leaving us or forsaking us. And Father, as a pastor, I lift up my friend Jay Eckert today, who has surgery this coming Monday, a faithful church member, a faithful servant to this Senate, and Lord, a faithful servant to you. We ask these humble favors in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. The Senator from Monongalia County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the guests in the gallery and the members join me as we salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Thank you. You may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
West Virginia Legislature, Senate Journal, January 16th, 2020. The Senate met at 11:10 a.m. Senator Carmichael, Mr. President, and the chair.
Senator from Tucker County requests unanimous consent that further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? The chair hears none, so ordered. Introduction of guest. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to welcome our honorary pages for the day. Please stand and be recognized as your name is called. As guest of the senior senator from the 17th, we have Braden Robinson, Logan Chapman, and Bryson Slack. As guest of the senior senator from the 7th, the senator from Boone, we have J.D. Halstead. As guest of the senator from Greenbrier, we have Abigail Fraley, Michael Fraley, and Luke Fraley. And as guest of the junior senator from the 16th, we have Teresa Rucker, Mary Wing, Sophia Schau, Jamie Welch, and Cecilia McGuire. If some are in the rear of our chamber, if all would please rise in the Senate, give them a warm welcome. Thank you. You may be seated. Are there further introductions? The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senate, it's my pleasure and yours to introduce our West Virginia Academy of Family Practice Doc of the Day. In the rear of the chamber, we have with us Dr. Andrew Pearson. If you wouldn't mind standing, let the Senate give you a warm welcome.
Further introductions? The senator from Boone County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senator from Logan, we're very pleased to have the chaperones of our pages today, and that's the mother, Valerie Halstead, if she would stand, and the Senate make them welcome.
The senior senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seated in the President's Gallery, we have Amy Hanna, and she's from my district in Williamson. She represents the West Virginia Family Resource Network there in Mingo County. So, Amy, if you will, stand, and Senate, please make her feel welcome. Also, in one of the galleries, we have representatives that are here volunteering for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and they're looking to hopefully get a mandate for education to school staff regarding suicide prevention. If you will, please stand as I call your name. Mila Krennick, Marcia Westbrook, Julia Hightower, and Jeannie Goff. Please, Senate, please make them feel welcome.
The senator from Wetzel County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, along with the group that Senator from Wayne talked about, we have Kelly Tabbitt and Sandy Rose from Moundsville, along with Deanne Burnett and Kaylee Burnett from Morgantown. Would you please make them welcome in the President's Gallery?
Junior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it your pleasure and mine to introduce a group of doctoral physical therapist students and physical therapists from across the state in our program and the West Virginia Physical Therapy Association, and I believe they all are student members of that as well, and PT members in our North Gallery. If you could please stand, and the Senate, please make them welcome.
Further introductions, the senator from Jefferson County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am happy to introduce to you the chaperone of the girls that are here from the Federation of North American Explorers. Their chief, Nikki Welch, came all the way from Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Will the Senate please make her feel welcome?
The senator from Tucker County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senior senator from the 14th, myself, we have with us today, it's one of the either the gallery behind me or to my left, we have April Miller, our Family Resource Network Director from Tucker County, and Kathy Coots, our Family Resource Network Director from Taylor County. If the Senate would make them welcome.
For the further introductions, the senator from Greenbrier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 introductions this morning. First, Abby, Luke, and Michael Fraley's mom, Kim, is here with us today from Monroe County, and Sarah Martin as well. So Kim and Sarah, will you all please stand and we can make you feel welcome? I'd also like to recognize Michelle and Doris, who are here today from the Monroe County FRN. They are important folks in our community who try and put the pieces together when folks can't find resources elsewhere. And the Senate's very pleased to have you with us here today. Can the Senate please make them feel welcome?
Senator from Brooke. The senator may proceed.
Sorry, I had 3. Last but certainly not least, I'm not sure where he is right now. Braden, he's at one of our pages. There he is. Braden is celebrating his 12th birthday today. So if the Senate would please, as he works with us today, celebrate.
Senator from Brooke County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of you and the junior senator from the 4th, it's my pleasure. We have the guest in the gallery today, Renee DeLong from the Jackson County FRN. She's in the gallery to my rear. If she could stand and be welcomed in the Senate.
Further introductions. Further introductions. Communications from the House.
There are none.
Communications from the Executive.
There are none.
Introduction or reports from standing committees.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 96, prohibiting municipalities from limiting persons' rights to possess certain weapons, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Mark R. Maynard, Chair.
Report will be received and referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 187, relating generally to in-state tuition rates for certain persons, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Patricia Puertas Rucker, Chair.
Report will be received and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 192, relating to West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission audits, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Patricia Puertas Rucker, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Economic Development has had under consideration Senate Bill 265, authorizing DEP to develop reclamation of abandoned and dilapidated properties program, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Chandler Swope, Chair.
Report will be received under the bill's original double committee reference, will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 297, requiring Board of Education create home economics course, and reports back committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Patricia Puertas Rucker, Chair.
Report will be received. Recognize the junior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the second reference to the Committee on Finance be dispensed. The bill is revenue neutral.
Junior senator from 17th requests unanimous consent that the second reference to Committee on Finance be waived. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Are there further standing committee reports?
Yes, sir. Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 307, correcting code citation relating to and Senate Bill 322 relating to pre-qualifications for state contract vendors, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass. Respectfully submitted, Mark R. Maynard, Chair.
Report will be received.
That's all I have, sir.
Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. The junior senator from 17th.
President, I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill 523 through 534 be considered and introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
Junior senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 523 through Senate Bill number 534 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Resolution 9 by Senator Jeffries designating January 20th, 2020 as Down Syndrome Awareness Day.
Are we doing anything with Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day. Further resolutions?
No, sir.
Motions? Petitions?
I have a petition presented by Senator Smith from Elizabeth King and numerous West Virginia residents requesting repair work to be done to the Stevensburg Road and Gulf Hill Road.
Petition will be received and referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Are there further petitions?
No, sir.
Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 7 naming the U.S. Army Private First Class Clifford O. Eckerd Memorial Bridge.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Further unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 35, limiting civil penalty for littering conviction to $2,000. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? The senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 35 amends a single section of the state code, and it is in Chapter 22, Article 15A, Section 4. And that section provides criminal penalties and civil penalties in connection with littering. Criminal penalties include fines, community service, cleaning up litter from the waters of the state. The purpose of the bill, the civil penalty contained in the bill, is a mandatory penalty of $2,000. And the bill adds language that provides that the civil penalty that can be assessed is up to $2,000. There is some reason to believe that the mandatory penalty of $2,000 in its current form is preventing people from being charged and prosecuted for littering violations. And so this bill, if adopted, would give a magistrate court discretion to order a civil penalty that is up to $2,000, but not necessarily the number of $2,000. And those civil penalties are divided. Money from those civil penalties goes to the Litter Control Fund, and the remaining 50% goes to the local or its county or regional solid waste authority. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, Mr. President. Otherwise, I urge the passage of this bill.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results on this question being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent and not voting. More than the majority of those present and voting, having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Further bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 46, defining pepper spray and exempting from definition of deadly weapons. Third reading of the bill.
The question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? The senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 46 amends 2 sections of the state code. They're both in Chapter 61, which is criminal code, one in Article 6, Section 19, the other Article 7, Section 2. Article 7 deals with deadly weapons. Article 6 is crimes against the peace. The bill makes it permissible for persons who are over the age of 16 to carry small pepper spray canisters within the state capitol complex. That is limited to 1-ounce canisters, and the bill also excludes pepper spray from the definition of deadly weapons contained in Article 7. Be happy to try to answer questions. Otherwise, I urge the bill's passage.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results on this question being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent and not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting, having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 140, changing rate at which certain judges are paid for mileage when traveling within state. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? The junior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 140 changes the rate at which certain judges are paid for mileage when traveling within the state. It alters the rate that Supreme Court justices and circuit court judges are reimbursed for mileage when traveling for business. The bill only applies to travel made in the employee's personal vehicle. Currently, the reimbursement rate is limited to 15 cents per mile. The bill increases that rate to which the other state employees receive through the Travel Management Office. This bill passed unanimously out of the Senate last year. And, Mr. President, I'll take questions. Other than that, I urge passage of the bill.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion. The senior senator from the 5th.
With the junior senator from the 4th yield.
Senator yield. The senator does yield.
So that will now conform with what everybody else does, which is the rate of the federal government defines a rate that says this is what it is, and that fluctuates according to the inflation and things like that.
That's correct, but it's as set by the Travel Management.
Okay, but they follow those guidelines as well, don't they?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Is there further discussion? The senior senator from the 17th.
Mr. President, will Senator continue to yield?
Senator yield. Senator does yield.
There was a little confusion about this in the Finance Committee about whether this applied to just travel within the state or in the state or out of the state. I think it applies to both. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there further discussion? Not, question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent not voting, more than the majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Further bills on third reading.
Engrossed Senate Bill 170, alleviating double taxation on foreign income at state level. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? Junior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 170 is alleviating double taxation on foreign income at the state level. A version of this bill passed the Senate last session on a vote of 33-0 with one member absent. This bill will provide for a tax credit for income taxes imposed by and paid to a foreign country. Under current law, a West Virginia resident is permitted a tax credit on their personal income tax for any income tax imposed by and paid to another state or the District of Columbia. However, a tax credit is not available for income tax paid to a foreign country. This bill would correct that, and I'm happy to take questions. Other than that, I urge passage of the bill.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not, all those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question there being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent not voting, more than the majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Further bills on third reading.
Engrossed Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 207, creating Prosecuting Attorneys Detectives Act. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall this bill pass? Is there discussion? The Senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 207 does what the short title suggests. It would create and enact the Prosecuting Attorneys Detectives Act. It would do this by creating a new article in the code designated as Article 4A in Chapter 7, containing in all 7 sections. This is similar to legislation that passed the Senate last year. There are apparently and have been some counties in the state in which the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney has employed detectives without clear statutory authority. This would create the statutory authority. It's permissive. It doesn't require any county prosecutor's office to establish detectives, but it provides legislative permission and authority, statutory authority for it to occur. It delineates what the duties and powers of such detectives would be, addresses their employment status and compensation, leaving that as a matter of negotiation between the employee and the employer, subject, of course, Mr. President, to the budgetary control of a county commission, delineates minimum requirements for people to be law enforcement requirements for people to be employed as prosecuting attorneys, detectives. I would be happy to try to answer any questions. There's no fiscal impact on the state. It's a matter of county budget. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not, all those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question there being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent not voting, more than the majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Excuse me. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 310, updating certain terms used in West Virginia Personal Income Tax Act. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? Junior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 310 updates the terms used in the West Virginia Personal Income Tax Act. This is the annual personal income tax update bill that incorporates changes in federal tax law enacted in 2019 into the separate personal income tax statutes for purposes of determining tax liability for the tax year 2020. I'm happy to take questions, and other than that, I urge passage of the bill.
Is there further discussion? Not. Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question there being 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent not voting, more than the majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill be made effective July 1, 2020. Request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Junior Senator from the 17th moves that the bill be made effective on July 1, 2020, and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So on this question, there's 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill effective July 1, 2020. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Are there further bills on third reading?
No, sir.
Bills on second reading?
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 16, creating Protect Our Right to Unite Act. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not the bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 42, permitting faith-based electives in classroom drug prevention programs. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not the bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 225, empowering municipalities to enact Adopt a Street programs. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading. Are there further bills on second reading?
No, sir.
Bills on first reading? Junior Senator from the 17th. Yes.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 125, prohibiting victim from being subjected to certain physical examinations for sexual offenses. First reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 217, requiring DHHR collaborate with Workforce Development Board and West Virginia Division of Personnel for job placement. First reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 323, authorizing Department of Administration promulgate legislative rules. First reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading?
No, sir.
Introduction of guest. The Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've noticed in the rear of the chamber, we are honored today by one of our former senators and former Senate clerks, Mr. Clark Burns. If you wouldn't mind, Senator, standing up, let the Senate give you a warm welcome.
Further introductions. The Senator from Brooke County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of myself, the Senator from Ohio, and the Senator from Wetzel County, in the gallery to my rear, we have Stacy Dye. Stacy is here representing the Marshall County FRN, so she could stand and the Senate make her feel welcome today.
Further introductions. Remarks by members of the Senate. The Senator from Brooke County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the provisions of Rule 8 of the Senate be suspended for the Senior Senator from the 15th for today.
The Senator from Brooke, is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Remarks by members of the Senate. The Senior Senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm going to set, once I get going here.
Senator, just for your information, the provision that we just adopted allows you to sit if you prefer.
I'm well aware of it.
Okay.
Thank you. I didn't write this remarks here, but I totally concur with him, and then I'm going to make a comment or two afterwards. Mr. President, I rise today to speak in favor of the Clorox Company and its proposed Fresh Step cat litter manufacturing site in my home county of Berkeley County. As many, and they're announcing today that they're locating in Berkeley County. As many of you are aware, the Mountain State has experienced a record-topping year in 2019, leading the nation in gross domestic product in the first quarter. West Virginia also saw the highest personal income growth, surpassing the rest of the country with a rate of 5.6%. The Eastern Panhandle was consistently at the forefront of the progress of the state's strongest economic region and is poised to remain so. As many of you have seen from your travel to my neck of the woods, it boasts many unique characteristics that make it a desirable location to do business, including the availability of flat land for development, a large pool of qualified workers, and a proximity to flourishing population centers. According to the Clorox Company, it tends to rank the region's expanding business community. As a Fortune 500 company with the longest dedication of sustainability and inclusion, I see this as an incredible, advantageous addition to Berkeley County as well as the state of West Virginia. The company chose Berkeley County because of its alignment with the company's culture and core values. As such, it seeks to be a good corporate neighbor and maintain equal focus on sustainability and local civil engagement. Living upon the company's core values, the Clorox Company awarded over $6 million in product donations across the United States and $4.5 million in corporate community cash grants in localities where their factories are based just this past year. Clorox hopes to build on their existing presence in West Virginia, where they have a long and proud history in Mineral County and in Tucker County, manufacturing their Kingsford charcoal product line. Their planned investment to open the plant in Berkeley County is a result of continued momentum of their cat litter business, reflecting growing consumer demand for their innovative products. After meeting with the company, I'm impressed with its long history of investing in its employees. The company will offer competitive salaries above the county's average, in addition to full benefits and several generous assistance and incentive programs for its new team of members. Residents of the Eastern Panhandle have already reaped the benefits of a planned smart growth throughout the region, and welcoming throughout the investment of companies such as Clorox is key. The Clorox Company won't just maintain the momentum that's been gained in Berkeley County and across the Mountain State, it will actively propel it forward. I hope the Eastern Panhandle will join me today in applauding the Clorox Company for its efforts around the globe here in West Virginia. It is my opinion that we must continue to foster these types of strong investments, and this body, along with our continued counterparts in the House delegates, should lead the way through policy decisions that provide for future opportunities for like-minded companies. As I said, Mr. President, I didn't write that. I agree with it to a greater degree, but I want to add a little bit more to it. When I met the Clorox Company It was just a matter of a couple of days. I had my staff up in finance after I come through the corridor, and I seen all the wind generation, and there's a lot. And I couldn't count them as I'm driving through. So we got ready and did an inventory of how many there were, where they were located, how many megawatt hours that they were able to produce, and we put that all into a format, and it's online for everybody to see right now. And when I met with them 2 days later, they got to talking about renewable energy and how they look for that, for where they're located at. And I was telling them how I was an advocate of coal, and the reason I'm an advocate of coal is it behaves like a battery. But I said I'm also an advocate of a portfolio of energy prospects that will make it so that companies like theirs, that when their boards of directors and their stockholders are looking at where they could locate and expand, that our portfolio of energy would make it so that they don't have the brownouts or whatever, but yet they also have the ability to have that green energy that they were looking for. And I was able to pull that out and show them, and they were shocked. And I give my staff a lot of credit. They turned this information around in a little bit of no time on that. Also, on the waste stream, they intend to be revenue or neutral, to where zero waste going out. And we have a plant called Insorga up there that is online now, that when the waste doesn't go to the landfill, it goes to Insorga, and they turn it into energy, a pellet type of energy that is mixed in with the process of creating heat with coal with capital cement. And it's that type of technology, and working with the government and the DEP and everything, and this has all been working together up there, that makes it so that we can recruit them in. That speech sounded like Berkeley County, Berkeley County, Berkeley County, Berkeley County. I didn't particularly like that part of it, because what I want to hear is that with the work that we're doing in this body, it's West Virginia. That we see the growth, not just in the Eastern Panhandle and North Central West Virginia. The work that we're doing, I wholeheartedly believe, is going to be making it so that West Virginia rises back to the potential for our people, where people will move here, want to move here, and because of our assets. And we have a lot of assets, and number one is our people. And number two is that we have trees. You go so many places elsewhere in the world, it's flat, but there's not trees. And those trees are sustainable energy also. They capture CO2. I'm done. But it is very exciting, the work that we've taken place. It is from fixing workers' comp, doing our pensions, all the different things over the last 2 decades, and many of us has been here together doing that, is now starting to bear fruit in the state of West Virginia. And so everybody deserves to be recognized for that. We're getting it right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further remarks by members? Further remarks. The senator from Boone County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I placed on everybody's desk little information about these family resource networks. They are a very important part of our infrastructure with regard to what we're trying to do with all these social issues, the problems with kids with adverse childhood experiences, children being raised by grandparents and uncles. I just, again, we sometimes tend to be a little penny wise and pound foolish sometimes. The number of services that they perform in every county, 55 counties, is unbelievable. I learn more about it every time I talk to them. But everything from feeding programs, addiction prevention, kinship navigators, training grandparents, grandfamilies. They deal with everything from providing clothes and hygiene products to folks in West Virginia. In West Virginia we have the haves and the have-nots. And these folks try to help the have-nots. It says here that they have $11.5 million in funding. That's almost all grant funding. In children and families, we give them, and this includes Medicaid funding, up to $1.8 million a year. $1.8 million a year. The main county gets $38,000. If there's two counties in there, the additional county gets $8,000. Now, what kind of work, what kind of effort can you have with that kind of funding? They spend so much time trying to raise funds that it takes them away from their primary goal, and that's to help people. They know their communities better than anyone. They understand the problems. They know where the hot spots are. Sometimes before someone can get out of a hospital, they may call up an FRN and say, look, this gentleman needs a hot water tank. The guy has the money to put the hot water tank in, but they don't have the workforce to put it in. So within 2 or 3 days, this gentleman can be discharged from the hospital to his home. They do all kinds of in-home services, things that we've been talking about that we know are needed, these wraparound services, if you will. So I think we need to really look at this. It's a line item in children and families, and we do have the power of the purse. That's what we do. That's what we do here in the legislature. I think we need to look at this, and when the DHHR is trying to roll out all of these social programs, they have to understand that there's already infrastructure in place that I know they're going to be needed. And when our health system changes, probably not too long, from a fee-for-service model to an outcomes model, and when we accept risk for a population, and knowing how much these social issues determine the health outcomes, then I think they're going to be very highly valued. I think we ought to value them more highly now. And I want you to pay attention to this and just understand and thank these people for what they do. It's a calling for them. They're not making much money. Some of the people that work for them are eligible for food stamps. And we need to, again, not be so penny wise and pound foolish and look at the big picture and support these FRNs. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Further remarks? Miscellaneous business, Senator from Marion County.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the remarks by the senior senator from the 15th and the senator from Boone be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. Further remarks? Miscellaneous business, the junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until Monday morning. That's January 20th at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? Are there announcements? The senator from Upshur County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Natural Resources will meet Monday at 1 p.m. at 208 West.
Further announcements? Not. The question before the Senate is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow morning or till Monday morning at 11 a.m.? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the Senate adjourned until Monday morning at 11 a.m.